Deputy Speaker, and I'd like to congratulate my honourable friend and constituency neighbour, the member for Dulwich and West Norwood, for securing this vital debate. I know the legacy of Windrush and the plight of the Windrush generation is a matter very dear to her and her constituents, as it is to me and my constituents, not least because her constituency is home to Windrush Square, as you've heard, which sits on the edge of my constituency and to which we both have the pleasure of making numerous visits to throughout the year. And most recently, I had the pleasure of joining my honourable friend and neighbour, along with our other honourable friend and neighbour, the member for Vauxhall and Camberwell Green, at the National Windrush Vigil, which is organised by the Windrush National Organisation. And this brought together community members for a moment of reflection, remembrance and solidarity for the Windrush generation and their descendants. And it was an opportunity to acknowledge the profound contributions they have made to the fabric of our society. And it's this aspect I want to focus on before I come to the Windrush scandal and the compensation scheme. Now, I've spoken in this chamber before about the role the Windrush generation played in not only rebuilding our nation, but also for the way they transformed our society and culture. My constituency of Clapham Brixton Hill was completely reshaped by the Windrush generation, and that legacy is still very much evident in the people, in the culture, the music, the art, the cuisine, and in so many other ways. Beyond rebuilding our cities and enriching our culture, the Windrush generation played a crucial role in shaping and sustaining our public services that we continue to rely on every single day. They were the nurses, midwives and doctors who form the backbone of our NHS, often working long hours in difficult conditions to care for the sick and vulnerable. They were the bus drivers and train operators who kept our transport networks running, ensuring that Britain's economy kept going. They were the teachers who educated generations of children, instilling in them the values of hard work and perseverance. They served in our armed forces, fighting for a country that did not always recognise them as equals. Their contributions were not just significant, they were indispensable. Without them, Britain would not be the country it is today. We in this House often speak of values of tolerance, diversity, resilience and community, what we call British values. The Windrush generation embodied these values throughout their courage, their determination and their unwavering belief in a better future, but they were not always treated with these same said values. We know that their influence runs through the fabric of our nation, and we have to ensure that their contributions are not just remembered, but celebrated, honoured and upheld for generations to come. And yes, we have to celebrate them. We have to celebrate and understand and remember that the Windrush generation were not always treated with the dignity and respect that they deserve. That has to be as much a part of our commemorations as anything else. Those who travelled across oceans to come to Britain did so thinking they were coming to a mother country that would welcome them with open arms. Instead, they were met with hostility, discrimination and barriers to opportunity. They were denied housing, turned away from jobs for which they were overqualified and often made to feel unwelcome in the very nation they had helped come to rebuild. And many of them and their descendants faced similar treatment during the appalling Windrush scandal. Now, this scandal was very much a scandal of the previous government's making, and I remember this because the mother of the house actually recently gave a lecture in this very building as part of the Windrush Summit. And the mother of the house, the Right Honourable Member for Hackney North and Stoke Newington. And I remember that Immigration Act that led to the Windrush scandal unfolding, that piece of legislation that caused all of those problems. And I remember her standing in this House and warning the Home Secretary at the time that if they passed this legislation, it would affect people for whom they had not intended to, and but whom looked different, what they called different to people, a number of people across this country. She was pointing to the black community. She was pointing to the fact that that piece of legislation at the time was going to be applied in a way that would cause this scandal, and it did. And I remember when the scandal was brought to the fore, and I remember all of the news at the time and people coming up with individual cases. But I do want to pay tribute to the Mother of the House, because it was her that led that first urgent question, and it was her that continually brought the Home Secretary and the Prime Minister to the dispatch box to apologise repeatedly until one of them ultimately paid the price with her job, and until certain guarantees were made and we started with that review. And, you know, that was where the previous government took some steps towards recompensing for that treatment, and that was important. But for so many, me included, it never felt as though there was genuine remorse for the pain or the humiliation and torment inflicted on the Windrush generation. It never felt as though the government at the time truly cared. Well, I'm pleased that that seems to have changed, and that the Minister for Migration and Citizenship was the first government minister to visit Windrush Square and join us at the vigil in April. Yeah, absolutely. It did not go unnoticed that this token of respect for the Windrush generation was one that no previous government minister had ever displayed. And I'm so pleased that the government has now taken steps to re-establish the Home Office Windrush unit, which will focus on the action needed to ensure the Windrush scandal is never repeated, and that the Home Office is recruiting a Windrush Commissioner, and I hope the Minister makes, in her remarks, an update to the House as to the progress of that particular appointment. Most importantly, though, the Minister stressed that the government was committed to a fundamental reset for the Windrush generation. I hope the Minister will be outlining clearly what steps the government is taking to bring about that reset. Because, unfortunately, the recent immigration legislation that is currently going through this House, it does not seem to me as if lessons have been learned from that. And, you know, one of the things that the Mother of the House mentioned in her recent lecture is that we should be careful not to romanticise the issues of the Windrush generation because the scandal continues. Now, Windrush Day is great, but justice would be better. The Windrush Monument is great, but justice would be even better. And you know, the funding that is being given to community organisations, not much, but some, to push these issues is great, but in comparison to the compensation that should be paid, it's not enough, and that justice, again, would be better. So whilst it's nice that these grants and these bits of support are going ahead, and that we talk about the Windrush generation more, the Home Office need not think that they are a substitute for the justice that the Windrush generation have continually been denied. And the Home Office need not think that we do not notice that far too many have died before regularising their status and before receiving a penny of justice. This has not gone unnoticed, and it has to be resolved. The Windrush generation deserve nothing short of our respect and gratitude for the role they've played in British society, and I hope this government will begin to lay the groundwork to demonstrate that, with not just pomp and platitudes, but with the justice they have been denied for far too long.